and that is excellent. So we're all set to go. I'm just looking around my screen here. I've got all this webinar technology and fascinating possibilities of things to do, but the big thing is for me to, I can see various hands raised, so that's good. Thank you very much. Excellent. And I can see various people online there, and we're all set to go. So firstly, welcome. Thank you for coming along, and it's great to have you here. Now, if you will just grab something to write with and something to write on, we're underway, and I've got a lot of fascinating information to share with you today. And I'd like to firstly tell you a little bit about myself and what I'm all about, which is about making the complex things simple, making the complex things simple, and teaching people how to fish. So here's a photo of me over the West Coast. I'm pretty keen on this fishing thing, but and I think the philosophy behind that is give a person a fish and you feed them for a day, but teach them how to fish and you feed them for a lifetime. And that is totally what I'm about as far as this coaching thing goes and as far as business development goes. So I'm all about teaching people how to fish. So that stretches to little girls out of the boat, having a wonderful day out here, learning how to fish, and very pleased with their day out on the briny they were. The other thing I'm very enthusiastic about is visiting your gold mine. So I'm a keen motorcycle rider, and here's a photo of me up in the gold mine in the back of Reefton. And the whole point of today's presentation is to teach you how to visit your gold mine within your business. So every business has the potential to be a gold mine, and the name of the game is to figure out where the seam of gold is in your own business so that you can access it and reach into it and get a hold of that gold and take it out. So firstly, what can you expect from this webinar is some blinding flashes of the obvious. So very often I find that in a presentation like this and live presentations of all sorts, people will often say to me, gosh, I knew that, but we just haven't been doing that, or we used to do that and we've stopped doing it. And so it's very often to have a blinding flash of the obvious when you come across something that you used to do or could do and you've known about but haven't tapped into. So implementation is often the key to get what you really want out of things in your business. Now, there's a couple of generalized principles that I'd like to mention as we get underway. And first of those is a principle we call above and below the line, because some people that you will have come across in your life may just as well not get out of bed in the morning, because that's that victim mentality. They live their life below the line, and that it's all about blame, excuses, and denial. But where the winners are is above the line, because they've got a paddle to row their own boat, and they get above the line and take a forward-looking view of things. So they're looking where they're going, not looking back to blame somebody or something for where they are. So I'd just like everybody's agreement today that we'll be working and talking above the line today. Because below the line, all we get is reasons, but above the line, that's where we get the results. Okay. The other thing, a generalized principle I use all the time, is to get the most out of learning is the I know, because a great many people know an awful lot about a great many things, but one of the things I find is the older I get, the more I realize that I don't know. So what I like to do is replace the I know with, isn't that interesting? And what I've found is that opens up my mind for learning and allows the possibility of whatever might be there to be revealed. And I'd like you all now, please, on your piece of paper in front of you, to write down 2 things you aim to get from today. And please be as specific as you can. And if you could just type in the search box, in the question box, A for answer, and what are you aiming to get from today? So take a second, please, and just type something in that box as what would you like to get from today's presentation? Can I have just a couple of quick answers there? So I've got, firstly, some profit strategies. Thank you. Anything else that we've got to just write a quick answer in that question box? Question, what do you want from today? So you should see that on your screen, and you can just type in the questions. So you increase the size of the question box, and you can just increase the size. You can just type a little answer back. So show answered questions. Now, Linnea, I know you're there. Can you actually type something in there just so I can see that you're receiving my questions, which would be great. And I see a range of people there. So the key is I'd like you to participate as much as possible. Sure, present and correct. Thank you, Linnea. That's very good. So let's look at, I'll give you a quick run over of the system, the General Action Coach system that I use. And in the first instance, we have an overall business view called 6 Steps to Massive Results. Now, the 6-step system is based on mastery at the bottom level. It's like the foundation of any business. And then the niche level, leverage, team, synergy, and results. But at the mastery level, it takes a business out of chaos into control, and from that comes stability. Out of the niche level comes cash. Out of the leverage level comes time. Team level comes happiness, and the synergy level is freedom, because you get the whole business working as a well-oiled machine, and after that it enables you diversification or multiplication of your business. Now, the key to money mastery, which is the prime area of our concern today, because there's 4 areas in that mastery level, so control of your time, control of delivery of your products, and a clear idea of where you're actually going. But the theme of today's presentation is profit slicing. So this is where money mastery comes into it. I'd like to talk firstly about the cash gap. And so this is a critical area of any business, and it is one of the first things that I always address when I'm working with a business. And this is the gap between when people get paid and when they have to pay for the goods. And you can see from this diagram that inventory arrives into the business at day 0, and the business owner will pay for that inventory at day 30. But there's a large cash gap up until day 120, which is the time when the goods get paid for by the customers, because the inventory arrives and gets shipped out to all the various customers who might buy it, and then there's a gap before you get paid. And so you can have a 120 less 30, a 90-day gap there, a 3-month gap in this example, between when you have to pay for your stuff and when you get paid for your stuff. So one of the simplest profit slices in any business is simply to close up that cash gap. And what I find with businesses that very often many of them will have a large 90-day debtors list, and that can be easily reduced. And similarly, they can have quite a gap between when they pay for things and when they get paid for things. And the ideal scenario is to get paid before you actually have to pay for your goodies. So it's perfectly feasible to be able to pay for your to get paid for your products before you have to pay your bills. And if you can achieve that, then you're in a lot better position as far as cash flow concerns. As far as cash flow is concerned, it alleviates a lot of worries, and it makes a big difference at the bank if you don't have to be constantly dipping into overdraft. So that's one of the very first things to deal with. And then the next thing that I always like to do is set up a budget for profit. So at the end of this, we'll be talking. I'll be giving you a cash and control toolkit, and in that is a nice little budget that you can set a budget for profit, a budgeting tool or a profit predicting program that you can use to set a budget for profit in any business at all. So it's quite a helpful interactive program that you can use for that. And here's a graph that shows you budgets for profit, and the main thing is that total expenses come to the yellow line, and your total income or revenue or turnover is the blue line. And it's not until the point of intersection at about 15 units, 14, 15 widgets sold, that break even is achieved in this business, which is quite a significant thing to be short of, that is to say, to be short of break even in a business here, that break even point, and above that is the net profit in a business. And so you can make a projection as to what your maximum utilization of a business is by setting up one of these graphs, which is an easy thing a reasonably easy thing to do for any business. But the profit predictor that's included in the Cash and Control Toolkit, which I'll show you, give you access to further in the presentation, includes a tool to enable you to make a budget very, very simply for any business. So the keys to money mastery. Here's a few quick tips of what you can do to find extra profit slices in your business. Firstly, close up the cash gap. Then work out the break-evens in the business, and then set a budget to produce profit. So many business owners do not have a budget of any sort, let alone one to produce profit. And then if you can establish KPIs, which are your key performance indicators in the business, such basic things like the number of leads or inquiries coming into the business, the number of new jobs coming into the business on a weekly basis, and the number of invoices achieved, a number of invoices issued in the business on a weekly basis, and thereafter cash flow, how much money is coming in and out, and what the state of the debtors is. Now, many people will look at KPIs perhaps once a year when they get a report from their accountant. Others will do it monthly, which is nice and easy because by then all the bills will be in, and then you can collate the response and have a profit and loss or whatever from your cash program. However, I have a great preference for doing it weekly because it brings those KPIs much closer to the means of production and enables very rapid response to changes in the environment, and also rapid results from things that you do. And similarly, having someone else hold you accountable for doing that makes a big difference as to what you actually achieve. Now, the niche level is the next level in our Action Code system, and this is we define a niche as no price competition, which is a critical thing for many business owners, is to get their head around this concept of no price competition, because so many business owners I come across are locked into price competition. So everything's determined by price. It's only the cheapest price that wins the tender or the job or whatever. Yet we can all think of examples from our own private life proving and illustrating that this is patently not true. Because if it was true, we'd all be driving in the cheapest possible car. We'd all be driving brand new Indian Tatas, which you can buy for $3,000, yet in fact nobody's driving those. So people buy motor vehicles and houses and pens and cups, coffee cups, pads of paper, anything at all at vastly different price points. So for most items, it's not about the cheapest price, it's about the highest value proposition to the purchaser. So the name of the game is to be always providing great value for money, because that's what people really want. They don't actually want cheap. They want great value for money. So if you can illustrate your goods and services in terms of value for money, you'll get a far better response from your prospects. Now, here's one of the magic, little bits of mathematical magic that's helpful for any business, which is the 5 unproven ways to increase business profits. Because in a business, there's 5 things happening throughout the business as cash flows through a business. And firstly is the number of leads, so the number of people that hear about you or know about you or interact with your business. And then the conversion rate, which turns those leads into customers. And then how often they come back, so how many transactions those customers perform with you in a year. and then how much they spend each time, which is the average dollar sale. That adds up to your turnover or revenue or total sales, and then times your profit margins equals the profitability of your business. So this is a very simple formula that you can use for any business. Now, if we put some numbers into this formula, so for example, 4,000 customers in a retail shop walk through the door, 25% of them buy, which gives 1,000 customers, 1,000 paying customers, and then they come back twice a year and spend $100 each time. That adds up to, multiplies up to a total revenue of $200,000. And if the business has a profit margin of 25%, that leaves a net profit in the business of $50,000. Now, here's the key. With just a 10% increase in the number of leads, or in each of these things, then one could expect perhaps a 10% increase in the profitability of the business. However, that is not the case. If we were to increase the number of leads, so the number of people coming through the door by 10% to take it to 4,400, and then conversion rate increases by 10%, 25 to 27.5, the number of customers does not grow by 10%. In fact, it grows by 21%. And then similarly, the number of transactions, if you can get people to come back just a little bit more often, up to 2.2, and spend $10 more, so an extra 10%, revenue does not increase by 10%. It in fact increases by, in this case, $92,000, a total of 46%. And then profit margins, just a 2.5% increase in profit margins, will increase the overall profitability in this business by not 10%, but a whopping 61%. So the key then, the secret, is to be working on each of those 5 areas steadily on a regular basis. Now, you may not achieve a 10% increase in each of those areas over a given year, but you can certainly increase some of those areas significantly, and even a 1% increase leads to a 6% increase in the bottom line. So just a 1% increase in each of those areas. So the key is to be working on each and every one of those areas on an ongoing basis. And so often, to be fair, to be blunt, I come across business owners that have neglected one or other of the areas. And it's simply a fact of life that a business owner needs to be working on all of the things all of the time. Now, that's not to say you're devoted, you're running around like a chook with the head cut off, doing everything at once, but attention needs to be paid to each of those areas so that you gain the cumulative effect of working on everything. So, simple question for this point is, what would you do with an extra? What would you do with an extra 61% profitability, 61% increase in your profitability? In the example shown, it adds up to $30,000. What would you do with an extra $30,000 in your pocket this year? I'll just leave you to think about that for a minute. Now, as I mentioned, I've set up a free cash and control kit. So I've got 4 tools that I've found very helpful to businesses over the years, and they're all set up in a cash and control kit. So you can access all 4 of them, plus a free video training course, and all you have to do to access them is go to the website at www.tradesandmakers, with an and, that's TRADESAND, makers.co.nz. So tradesandmakers.co.nz, and there's a free cash and control kit there that you can download and access. So looking at each of those 5 areas of the business, firstly, lead generation. How do you attract people to you? How do you attract people to you, which is what lead generation is all about. Now, just included in there is a very important consideration, that it's lead generation, not customer generation, because it's far easier to attract a lead into your business than it is to attract a customer into your business. And so a lot of people think only in terms of customers, but if you've got people interested in your business and leads coming into the business, then you're in a lot better, you're going to have a lot more incoming business getting leads rather than just customers. So 5 things to do, to work on. Firstly, advertise. So every business should have some form of advertising, even those that don't think they need it. Referrals, just simply by asking your existing customers, who else do you know? And offering free guides. So it's a very simple, offering a free guide is a lead generation strategy. So people will come to you for the free guide or the free information or some useful thing that you can offer them without necessarily wanting to buy off you as a customer or in the first instance. But what that does is give you a very low risk way of interacting with your prospects. So if your prospects have got a low risk way of interacting with you and finding out about what you do, that's a fantastic lead in for you then to interact with them and then later on convert them into customers. And similarly, networking, there's a fantastic mechanism called BNI that you can use to reach out into the community and interact with people, like-minded individuals. People attend business meetings of a morning. Similarly, there's Fit for Business and a range of other networking opportunities in town, such as BA5 through the Chamber of Commerce, and many, many others, places that go where people talk about business. And one of the things you can also do is start your own business network. So maybe as a share club or a sports club or an athletics group or a fishing group or a hunting group or something like that with like-minded business owners rather than simply your typical friends. So you can certainly network yourself out that way. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, is to have a database. So if you've got a database of customers, then you can work that database and market to them, which is your market of people who are interested in what you've got. And that can make a significant difference to any business by simply having a database and then interacting with it on a regular basis. So a couple of examples here. Dear Conrad, just telling people, because people, I noticed that I had that comment on the previous slide, people love to know why. So just telling people why they should entrust their house with him increased his listings. Made a difference just because he told people why they should deal with him. And another example from well back was Marty with Harbour Electric, just in improving his advertising. He had a regular ad in the paper at the time and had no response for nearly a year. And so by changing that ad to produce a response and tuning it up made a significant difference to the flow of work coming into his business. Now, nextly, helping people to buy, the conversion rate. Having attracted leads into your business, the key then is to convert them into customers. And one of the conversion rate is the cheapest and most powerful area to focus on in any business. And simply asking for the sale makes all the difference, because it's a very common thing, sadly, that I come across business owners that are quite challenged with asking for the sale. So having some sales script or some team training as to how to ask for a sale makes a big difference to the response you get. And then following up that inquiry or that quote or whatever else, rapid follow-up, makes a big difference to the conversion rate of quotes in particular, but also inquiries, because I'm sure we've all had the occasion of sales leads going dead because of the lack of follow-up and leaving them too long. And if you can establish some trust and credibility with your potential client before you meet them with testimonials and guarantees, that can make a very big difference to your conversion rate when you actually get to the meeting. So it's a relatively simple thing to present, supply to your prospect some information covering what you do, and complete with some testimonials and guarantees that establish your credibility and build some trust before you even meet the prospect. So an example here from John, just having a system for quotes got them many more jobs for no extra marketing expense. So it's the cheapest and most profitable thing that you can do in your business is work on that conversion rate. And nextly, the number of transactions. How often do people come back? So enticing people to come back makes a huge difference to any business, and every business should have a customer care system of some sort. So many people don't have such a thing, especially a formalised one, but simply by thinking about those terms, number of transactions and how do I entice people to come back, is enough to help you get moving with doing something, because it's 6 times easier to work with existing customers than it is to find a new one. So, and reigniting the interest and interaction of lost customers, reigniting lost customers, pulling past customers back into the fold, getting previous customers to come back and buy off you again, is a very simple and easy strategy to do. So having a loyalty program, of course Flybuys is a very famous one and has proven to work extremely well in New Zealand. But you can have your own loyalty program for any business, and having a database of customers that you work and keeping in contact with them makes a significant difference. And of course, by building a relationship with your customers, that also makes a difference. The proven minimum time for keeping in touch with people, or maximum time, is 90 days. So the tested and measured evidence shows that if you leave people for greater than 90 days, they forget about you and will shop around rather than automatically coming back to you. So if you keep in touch with people within 90 days, they're far, far more likely to use you the next time they purchase your product or service. So, marketing to existing customers easy, produce quick results. There's Norman there. Just by setting up a system to market to his current customers made a significant difference. So, average dollar sale. Ensuring your customers get all that they need or all that they're looking for. And it's an absolute classic when that business owners love when they tell you, oh, I didn't know you did that, straight after they've gone and purchased from somebody else. Now, I've very often found, hands up anyone, I wonder if you can do a hands up on the screen, anyone who's ever had that happen to them. Hands up anyone who's ever had somebody say, I didn't know you did that. Because unfortunately it's quite a common situation where people they find out from their customer that they've gone and bought somewhere else and didn't know. So simply informing people about what you do, about the full range of goods and services that you supply, makes a big difference to your results. Thank you, Lydia. And there's nothing more annoying than having people tell you that they bought somewhere else because they didn't know you did it. However, you can increase your average dollar sale just by asking. So the famous story is, of course, McDonald's, when they asked for fries with that. On the first day they did that, it was an extra $17 million in turnover for McDonald's USA. So funnily enough, they have persevered with their strategy ever since. And the well-trained other fast food operators also ask, would you like an upsell with whatever product you're buying? However, I'd have to say that the only two do it religiously. They do it, the McDonald's team members and the KFC team members, in my observation. Not that I ever would confess to eating there, but they do it absolutely habitually. So they're trained thoroughly to always ask for the upsell. But using a checklist or offering people a checklist and allowing them the possibility to know about your range. But also, one of the things I find with giving large priced items, presenting larger priced items to people, one of the things I find is by offering 3 prices can make a big difference, because you will have thoroughly discussed the price or what your client or what your prospect is looking for, and then presented a price based on that. But if you can give them a very cheap option to head off any price competition, as well as giving them a high-priced option with all the bells and whistles, what I found over the years is that will head off the people that actually do want more, and it will head off price competition from somebody, some rival, that has put out a very cheap price just simply to get the deal, and in fact you'll end up with your prospect might go with that cheap price, but end up dissatisfied because they're not actually getting all that they're supposed to be getting. So putting in your own cheap price to head that off can make a big difference, especially in a tender situation or a quote situation. Now, just asking if people want to buy was a very successful strategy for Daryl at Art in London, because they like to buy salon qualities after they've had their haircut. Now, the fifth and final of the 5 ways is getting paid for your efforts, profit margins. And this is where some of you will have seen a little video of the golden 1% comes into it, because the profit margin, of course, produces the biggest and most dramatic increase to the bottom line of any business. And the golden 1% shows how an increase in sales of 1%, a decrease in costs of 1%, and an increase in prices of 1% will produce a 24% increase in profit on the bottom line of the business. So I hope you can see my cursor moving there. Starting at a net profit of 10, increasing sales only increases the bottom line by 0.5%, because although the turnover has gone up by 1%, the variable cost, which is to say the costs of purchases, the costs of those goods, buying those goods into store, takes up 0.5%. So only 0.5% goes to the bottom line. But a decrease in costs over both variable and overheads of 10% will give you almost a 1% increase in the bottom line. And of course, an increase in prices of 1% goes straight to the bottom line. So that is simply the most effective mechanism to increase your bottom line. Naturally, not many people can increase their prices by 10% on a regular basis, but slowly and steadily is the way to do it. And I think there's no better example in the New Zealand market than that of Sky Television, whose bills regularly and steadily increase probably every 3 months. So any of you out there with Sky TV will notice that it always seems to get dearer. Funnily enough, it never goes back the other way. So here's a list of 8 things that will increase your profit margins and increase your slice of profit from any business. So naturally increasing prices and reducing fixed costs, but also focusing on your higher margin products. So the simple question is your highest margin product the one you sell most of? And if not, why not? So by focusing your attention on your highest margin product, you will naturally increase your bottom line. And of course, the question that must come before that is, what is your highest margin product? So therein lies a little task for you all to simply measure or back cost the work that you do, so that you can identify what your highest margin product is and then thereafter focus on it. Similarly with stock turn, which is the amount of stock that you hold in stock and divide it into your turnover, and it's helpful to have a number, because it's usually a relatively small number like 4 or 6 or 10, something like that, where you've got items that you're stocking for sale. And then similarly, reviewing payment terms. It comes back to the same cash gap strategy that we talked about earlier, but a review of that will go straight to the bottom line. But 6 and 7 are very important ones, especially for trades-based businesses, because the number of chargeable hours that you're actually getting invoiced out each week is well worth measuring. And it's critically important to measure that in any business that's doing hands-on work. And you just simply by measuring it will produce a response within you, and I've had several dramatic examples of that over the years, where the number of chargeable hours proved to be a big shock to the business owner. And I just had a recent one where it worked out to be 35%. So 35% of the time was being charged out, and it was in the business. So funnily enough, changing that is producing dramatic increases in profitability. Now, productive hours is something slightly different, because typically a business owner will get the number of chargeable hours up to what they perceive to be the maximum, because funnily enough, in most people's minds, there are a few hours of the day which are perfectly suitable for dissipating into unproductive work. Whereas in fact, truly productive people can get all of their hours charged to jobs, whether it's exactly as written down on a job card or notionally as included in the price. either way, productive hours is a little bit different to chargeable hours. And by maximising the productive hours and reducing that admin time and that fluff around time and bringing in leverage type systems to reduce that mucking about time and I suppose, needless activity time. And goodness knows that it's a very easy trap for business owners to fall into, unproductive hours. Lastly is systemised pricing. Now this is one of the most successful strategies for hands-on business, especially trades-based businesses, to have a system of pricing, whether it's a menu board of prices so that people can clearly see what they're in for. And the fact that there is systemised pricing, that they've provided systemised pricing, has led to the rise of all of the group home builders. So you have building companies throughout New Zealand whose main point of difference to the average builder is their systemised pricing, so that homeowners or home builders can have confidence that they're going to get what they want built at the price they've agreed to pay. So systemised pricing has led to an awful lot of business in the town and throughout New Zealand. And it's very easy to implement for any business, actually. So one of the things for sure is selling a high margin product to a lot of people is a winning formula. And those boys at Kaikoura Valley certainly made a lot of money for a simple, out of a simple high margin but low priced colouring in book back in the day. But similarly, having a weekly reminder of where you want to be going and putting it into achievable bits enables big things to happen. So working slowly and steadily on those profit margins in any business makes a big difference. And by the time you add them all up, they turn into quite a big slice of business. So, in the words of Warren Buffett, it's not necessary to do extraordinary things to get great results. And we saw in the 5 ways example, revenue up 46%, so turnover up 46%, but profits up 61%, just with a 10% increase in the 5 ways, and profitability up 24% with just a 1% increase in those 3 areas using the golden 1%. So, some local examples. There's Neville, 12 months, increased his turnover by 60%, profitability has grown 200. And Mike, 6 months, increased turnover by 30%, but profitability also increased by 200%, making a significant difference. And the only failure with all of this stuff is the failure to participate, the failure to actually do it. So my fondest hope today is that you'll take away these strategies and use them within your own business. And so as long as you use the stuff and implement those ideas, then you will get a much better result in your business. Just a quick mention or discussion of what I do, which is business coaching. It's a learning experience where we help you grow your existing business, which more than pays for your customized business education, which helps you learn to fish, and of course you get to keep that forever. So if you pop on to Trades and Makers, you can download the Cash and Control Toolkit. There's 4 different items in there and a little video explaining each one and how to use it to increase the bottom line of your business. So there's some useful tools to help you get to where you want to go. And the other little gift I've got for you here today, in addition to the toolkit, is making 20 10-minute strategy sessions available. So if you're serious about adding profitability to your bottom line, I've set up a time trade calendar here, and it's on a program, an online program called timetrade.com. And if you put /book and /YDCGC, we could say Yoda, come get cash. I can give you 10 minutes of a 10-minute strategy session that might help you identify some easy wins for your business in a very quick fashion. So I urge any of you that are serious about adding more profitability to your business to take advantage of one of those strategy sessions. They're available right there at Time Trade, and you can click on them. You can I don't know about clicking that link. You might have to on your computer, but you can certainly copy and paste that into your browser and go to that website and book in a session if you like. Now, are there any questions at this stage? Is there any questions? Because you possibly have any some burning questions that that you're thinking of. Now, how do we have any questions? Because now the thing is, the name of the game is to get into action and go and put some of those ideas and concepts into action. So, questions? Questions. Where am I? Let's go. Question. Hello. Any questions, please? I'm not getting any questions. So, has anyone got anything to say? If you put your hand up, I'll be able to see if you want to. I can open the lines. Oh, here we go. From Andrew. What kinds of events would you recommend holding as a promotion for a retail business? Wow. I suppose it depends on the nature of retail. I've had a lot of experience in the retail trade, and something that generates leads I've found to be the most effective mechanism for any business, as opposed to something that necessarily generates customers. So I probably need to, if you want to fill out more specifically the nature of the business, I could probably speak more specifically to that. But I suppose the most easily demonstrated examples that we see that I've seen on the streets of Dunedin over the years, when the subways first opened, they gave away free subways. So free tasting or free sample of the product will usually bring a good response from the public. So that's always a bit of a winner, and it depends on the nature of your products, whether it's suitable for a free sample. So in the car sales and motorcycle industries, they'll have free test rides of new models and test drive days of cars, and they'll have viewings, exclusive viewings for ladies' fashion. So you can have an exclusive test drive or come and have a preview look at day. Works very well as a promotion for those. But for other types of businesses, sales, and especially closed door sales, where you have an exclusive entry, that works extremely well for businesses. And there's a whole industry around doing it for car sales, but there's a very successful model to follow from Michael Hill Jeweller and the other jewellery stores, where they'll close the store off for a day and only allow certain people in and have a special restricted customer-only sale day, and they'll have special things at special prices. A lot of those, well, obviously there's some strategies around pricing, there's some strategies around previews or something special. I have a general preference to the exclusive type of promotion, so that's much more positive rather than a sale type of promotion. And if you can have some exclusive offer that brings your special customers into store for some kind of event, I've found that leads to the best sales of products long term at higher profitability, and is better for the business long term. I'm actually not a fan of these grab one type deals where you bring fresh customers into the business on the basis of an extremely good deal. And typically that only brings a one-off buyer, that doesn't bring a loyal customer. And if anything, it undermines your long-term credibility in business. So I don't know if that is helpful, but it's certainly my experience over the years. And that makes a big difference now. There, thanks, Andrew. So one of the things that would, in things for a baby store, someone's raised their hand about a baby store, so an idea that springs to mind, I mean there's always research can be done on these topics, but the thing that springs to mind is if there's the possibility of a celebrity baby, if there's the possibility of an ongoing baby competition for the baby of the month. One of the things is that the customers are typically changing on a rotational basis as far as babies go, because people have their child producing time which they enter into and then exit out of, and then thereafter they're buying for nieces, nephews, and grandkids. So having a promotion linked to a Facebook page where you're having constant baby photos appearing, and grandparents in particular being pulled into store because they're the ones that would typically have a more substantial budget for giftware, whereas the parents will tend to be more about the basics because they've got all the rest of the expenses of having a baby to fund. So linking the various parties in store or the family group photos might be something that you could do, having a free family group photo. So if you could have, well, here's a suggestion. I know a certain photographer, James from Aiken Photographic. He would, I think, very gladly provide a free sample photo to any family group that came into store, and you could have an evening promo at a baby store whereby the grandparents, parents and the baby came for the family group professional family group photo in store, and then the professional photographer would be taking the shots and providing the free sample in a small version, and it might, given the high quality of the photos being taken, they might decide to get a larger version blown up for their wall and pay for that experience. So that would be an example of the kind of promotion that could bring a whole lot of people in store, which would be a freebie that you're giving away. However, you aren't supplying it. All you're providing is the venue and the backdrop for somebody else. How does that sound to you, Andrew? So, I'll see. Now, I've got all the hands here. So any other questions? I don't know if I'd like to think that was helpful to people. And has anybody else got a question? Anybody else got a question about anything to do with other profit slices in the store? To me, thanks, Andrew. I'm always, to be fair, or to be blunt, I'm always looking for promotions that are a win-win. And I would have to say that that would be my general rule of business. Win-win, everything can and should be a win-win situation. So when you're having a promotion like having the photographer coming in to take the family group photo, it's a win-win, win for you, win for the photographer, and win for the family. So everybody has fun with it, everybody stands to gain out of it, and there's no losers or downside here. So you can have, and of course getting the, I suppose in terms of babies, there's only a certain number of babies getting born, and they're all usually being born in the same place, so getting access to that data or from the paper, I'm sure you do stuff like that, but providing an invitation for that family group photo and doing them on one night a month would be a great way that you could establish that relationship with the parents and grandparents and get them all in together. And, well, I'd like to think it could be quite a unifying factor for the families involved, because I venture to suggest that both sets of grandparents don't often get there and together. So, do we have any other profit slice questions? So you do have the opportunity now to click through to that time trade and book a 10-minute strategy session. There's a bunch of times there available, and you can just go and select your own time and book in for that. But that's basically what I've got for you today. If you raise your hand if you've got another question that you'd like to have answered, I'm very happy to answer any questions. There we go. And Nigel, now, where is your question? I'm just not... Nigel, where are we? Just looking there. I see the hand, Nigel. I can't see the question. Not sure why that isn't coming through. Are you struggling to... It's not... oh, hang on a minute. I might delete off these... It might make some room here, which might enable me to see the question. No, Nigel, can I ask you to hand raise for a minute? Can I ask you to type your question into that panel, because I can't actually see anything there. Any more questions? I'm not sure what. God, I don't seem to. Sadly, I think I can see you there, but I can't see the question. And so now I'd like to, one last thing, we can have a quick poll, no polls, maybe chat, how's that? Me to raise your hand if you can hear me. I'll try that under chat. Any more questions? There we go. So there we go. And so one last thing before we go today. I'm wondering, can you ask a question of me, please? Can you ask a question for me? What did you get from today? So in the chat box, that seems to be working a little bit better than the question box. So if you can, in the chat box on your webinar, so what did you get from today? Could you please write something in there, if you would? So what did you get from today? That would be excellent. Anybody get anything? Excellent. Thanks, Bob. Some useful stuff there. And what are you going to apply? What's the one thing that you're going to apply in your own business? What is the one thing that you're going to apply in your own business? Excellent. Thank you. The numbers, even though they're small, they add significantly to the bottom line. That is completely correct. The 90-day rule. Thanks, Lanier, about keeping in touch with clients. Absolutely, that's right. I've got a great book actually somewhere I can lend. If you remind me, and I'll lend that to you, Lanier. It's about how to increase business and double your customer base in 90 days, which was a fascinating book written by an Australian woman in the hotel industry, actually. So it was really good. Yes, increasing sales in a trade business, yes, in a window. So I think the best thing for Nigel is to book in for a 10-minute strategy session a 10-minute strategy session, and anyone for that matter, but even Andrew and Mark, book in for a 10-minute strategy session, and we can just delve into a couple of things for you personally. That's fantastic. And I think the biggest thing for Nigel would be to have a flyer and targeting the actual targets that you want to. And the highest profit items, thank you. That's a very good thing from Andrew. Certainly measuring which are your highest profit items, and then focusing on those, because people are very susceptible to the upsell and very susceptible to looking at, there'll be a value proposition around your highest profit items. And so there'll be things that are far better for you to sell and good reasons why they're better for certain customers to buy. So the name of the game is to identify those and identify those items and what the value proposition is, and so that you're in a good position to point them out to the customers. And you may have noticed back the quote from Conrad at Metro, just simply by telling people why they might like to buy something makes a significant difference to the uptake of that item. And so the critical part of that equation is you need to have it clearly in your own mind why people should buy a particular item. So simply what I encourage all my clients to do is write out why a customer should buy something or why a customer should buy from them. And in doing so, that clarifies the value proposition and puts it into words, the reasons why customers should buy a particular thing. And in Conrad's case, it made a significant difference. He would talk about what he was doing, which other people had no great interest in. But once he talked about what he could do for other people and why they should choose him to sell their house, it made a significant difference to the number of listings he got. So it's a very simple thing. So yes, and Mark makes the point of controlling costs, of course. So increasing sales revenue by 10% can make a big difference, but you might have to make a huge increase in advertising or promotional expense in order to increase those sales, and that is completely true. And the way to control that is to turn advertising into an investment, and the way to achieve that is by measuring everything you spend on promotion or advertising. And so if you put an X amount of dollars into a particular strategy, then that should be measured, and the response to that strategy should be measured. And once you do that, then you will very rapidly determine whether that promotion or advertising effort was an expense or an investment. And that is absolutely the be-all and end-all of how to control that. And I've had a classic case, well, I've got several classic cases of people that have had newspaper advertisements running for years, because whilst on face value it might seem like they are expensive, but the return on investment has totally proven that the newspaper ad was well worth it. So testing and measuring the advertisement makes all the difference in the world. So if you're getting the response, then you know it's working. So that's the be-all and end-all. So that's the webinar for today, and I'd like to thank you all very much for attending, and thank you very much for your questions, because it's fantastic to have that participation, which I really enjoy. And I'll be in touch about the next webinar, because I will present again on a completely different topic, and that will be probably in a month's time. So I'll just have to conjure up what would be the topic of most interest for people. So if you could answer that question, please, that would be helpful. what is the topic you'd be most interested in hearing about at some stage in the future. Thank you. And that will be us for tonight. And I'll just type in my digital strategy. Goodness. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Excellent. So it's a fairly big topic, however, one that I've had a bit of experience with. And there's lots of different points of view about that. But yes, I think that would be a really good topic for me to present on, in fact, and bring in a guest presenter. So thank you for that idea, and I'll certainly put that on the list. Anybody else got any ideas of things they'd like to hear about? Please enter them now or forever remain silent. But anything else that you'd like to hear about, please note it now, because that's our webinar for today, and I'd like to thank you all very much for attending and hope to see you all on screen in the future. And thank you for your positive comments about the content of the webinar. Excellent. So the other thing that I'll just put down here is the web address for the cache and control kit, which you should all see there on your screen, www.tradesandmakers.co.nz. And the other one you should be able to see is the time trade, where you can book in for your free 10-minute strategy session. So please feel free to do that also. I'm wondering, no. Anyway, thank you all. So thank you very much. So you should all have the Trades and Makers web address for the kit, so you can just click on that and download the access the cache and control kit, and similarly you can book in for a 10-minute session if you wish. Thank you very much, and good night.